These are not only the best-selling trucks in America, they are also some of the best-selling vehicles of any kind. Pickup trucks are perhaps one of Detroit's last strongholds in the U.S. car market.
You didn't break the law, but your truck's already been blacklisted. Across 24 states, pickups once praised for reliability are now being erased, titles revoked, plates pulled, owners blindsided, no media coverage, no second chances, and the bans, they're accelerating. So why these trucks? Who's really behind it? And what happens when they come for the one in your garage? Ford Maverick. It is the truck that was supposed to change everything. Affordable, efficient, and engineered for the working-class American who does not want or need a bloated full-size pickup. The Ford Maverick Hybrid made headlines when it launched, offering fuel savings, solid utility, and a starting price that did not require a second mortgage. But now, just a few years after its arrival, it is facing backlash from lawmakers, environmental agencies, and even rural communities. The reason? It dares to challenge the traditional truck formula, and that is making people uncomfortable. The Ford Maverick Hybrid launched in the year 2021 and quickly made waves in the American automotive market. Ford's goal was clear: offer a compact, fuel-efficient truck that provides real utility without the size and price tag of full-size offerings like the Ford F-Series. Equipped with a 2.5-liter hybrid engine, the Maverick boasts impressive fuel economy, averaging around 42 miles per gallon in the city and 33 miles per gallon on the highway. For many buyers, it was a dream come true, a true pickup truck that could fit in a suburban garage, sip fuel like a sedan, and still haul plywood or a lawnmower. At a time when most new trucks are priced north of $70,000 United States dollars, the Ford Maverick Hybrid entered the market starting under $25,000 United States dollars. That pricing, paired with its practicality, made it a hit with first-time truck buyers, younger drivers, and small business owners who needed capability without excess. It was also one of the few trucks available with front-wheel drive, making it easier to drive in urban and suburban areas. However, that success came with unintended consequences. In several rural states, the Maverick Hybrid has been quietly flagged by lawmakers and state officials concerned about its emissions classification, its hybrid battery system, and its lack of traditional truck identity. Some state agencies have pushed for higher registration fees for hybrid trucks, while others have introduced legislation that would limit incentives or increase taxes for hybrid or electric vehicles used in commercial settings. The reasoning is often cloaked in budget concerns, but the underlying resistance appears deeply cultural, an unwillingness to accept a new kind of pickup that does not rely on a massive V8 engine. In fact, several owners in states like Wyoming, Oklahoma, and Alabama have reported facing unusual registration requirements or higher than expected property taxes for owning a Maverick Hybrid. Some local officials argue that the hybrid powertrain makes the Maverick a passenger car, not a true truck, even though it meets all utility benchmarks. These gray areas in classification are being used to sideline one of the most innovative pickups in recent memory. The Ford Maverick Hybrid is more than just a truck. It is a statement that practicality and progress can coexist. It breaks the mold, and for some people in power, that is exactly the problem. If we start banning or punishing vehicles simply because they are different, we are not protecting tradition, we are killing innovation. If a made-in-America hybrid truck can spark this much resistance, imagine the fury surrounding a diesel import carrying Chevy's nameplate. That's where we're headed next, and it gets even messier. If you're finding this eye-opening, hit that like button and subscribe right now. Every week, we uncover the truth the big automakers and lawmakers won't tell you. Don't miss the next story that could save you thousands. Chevrolet S10. Once a staple of the American driveway, the Chevrolet S10 was everything a pickup needed to be: compact, reliable, and tough enough to earn its place on job sites across the country. But while the original S10 faded from production in the early 2000s, its story didn't end there. In countries like Brazil, the Chevrolet S10 evolved into something even more rugged, equipped with turbo diesel engines, updated chassis designs, and advanced towing capacity. For years, savvy truck enthusiasts found ways to import these foreign variants legally. But today, those same trucks are being targeted and sidelined. First launched in the year 1982, the Chevrolet S10 became General Motors' answer to the growing demand for smaller pickups in the United States of America. Compact yet functional, it gave buyers a more fuel-efficient alternative to full-size trucks without sacrificing utility. By the late 1990s, the S10 had earned a loyal following among tradespeople, farm owners, and suburban drivers alike. It was practical, inexpensive, and incredibly versatile. However, by the year 2004, General Motors discontinued the S10 in the United States, replacing it with the Chevrolet Colorado, which was larger, more expensive, and arguably less personal. Meanwhile, in South America, particularly Brazil, the Chevrolet S10 lived on. General Motors continued production and refinement, developing diesel-powered models that were never sold in North America. These trucks featured powerful 2.8-liter turbo diesel engines, offering immense torque and excellent fuel economy. Built for rugged terrain and agricultural work, Brazilian S10s became a favorite for export among truck collectors and work vehicle seekers in the United States, who wanted a no-nonsense diesel pickup. Thanks to the Imported Vehicle Safety Compliance Act of the year 1988, many of these foreign-market Chevrolet S10s made their way to American soil under the 25-year import exemption rule. As long as the truck was at least 25 years old, it could be legally imported without conforming to current federal motor vehicle safety standards or United States Environmental Protection Agency emissions guidelines. For a while, it seemed like the perfect loophole: hardy, efficient diesel trucks legally driving through towns across America. But that loophole is now under fire. State-level departments of motor vehicles in places like Pennsylvania, Maine, and even Texas have begun challenging the road legality of these imported S10s. Owners are receiving title cancellations, registration denials, and notices reclassifying their trucks as off-road use only. The reason? These trucks were never crash-tested for American standards, and their diesel engines don't conform to modern emission regulations. Even though these trucks passed federal import laws, states are using their own interpretation to force them off the road. To make matters worse, insurance companies have begun backing away. Some owners report being denied coverage altogether due to the vehicle's origin and limited parts availability. Others have been forced to pay commercial insurance rates for what is, at its core, a personal use vehicle. When even a Chevy can't escape the system, you know something bigger's going on. But the next truck? It was never even allowed through the front door, and now it's being hunted down state by state. Toyota Tacoma. It wears a legendary badge and has the battle scars to prove it. But this version of the Toyota Tacoma is being quietly locked out of American roads. In fact, one specific type of Tacoma, imported from overseas, is quietly being targeted, restricted, and in some cases outright banned across multiple states, and most people have never even heard of it. While the Toyota Tacoma sold in the United States of America is a household name, known for its durability and off-road chops, there exists another version built specifically for the Japanese domestic market. These models, particularly those manufactured in the early to mid-1990s, were often equipped with diesel engines and simpler, more utilitarian designs than their American counterparts. These trucks were never officially sold in the United States, but began appearing on American soil thanks to the 25-year import rule. That rule, part of the Imported Vehicle Safety Compliance Act, passed in the year 1988, allows vehicles that are at least 25 years old to bypass the usual federal safety and emissions regulations. As a result, a number of these Japanese domestic market diesel Tacomas, or their close cousin, the Toyota Hilux, made their way into the United States as legal imports. With their exceptional fuel efficiency, long lifespan, and rugged simplicity, they quickly found favor with rural contractors, preppers, off-grid homesteaders, and die-hard Toyota enthusiasts. These imported trucks, however, are increasingly finding themselves under legal scrutiny. While they may pass federal import standards due to their age, several states have started pushing back. Departments of motor vehicles in places such as Maine, Pennsylvania, and even Texas have denied title applications or revoked registrations for these trucks based on the claim that they were never certified for United States highways. In some cases, owners have reported receiving letters instructing them to return license plates and cease operating their vehicle on public roads, even if they had held valid titles and insurance for years. The core issue lies in how these Japanese domestic market diesel Tacomas were built. Since they were never crash-tested under the federal motor vehicle safety standards or evaluated under the United States Environmental Protection Agency guidelines, state officials are using this as grounds to block them from registration. While technically legal under federal law due to their age, they are caught in a gray zone where state-level interpretation overrides federal exemption. For many, this feels like targeted suppression of affordable alternatives to modern trucks. Why spend $70,000 on a new computer-laden full-size pickup when you could own a diesel Toyota that lasts 500,000 miles and costs a fraction as much? The answer may lie in regulatory capture, when public policy is influenced more by large corporations than by the interests of regular citizens. If even Toyota's rugged imports can't dodge the crackdown, brace yourself, because the next ban victim built its legacy one hard mile at a time. And if one of the most iconic truck brands in America can have its foreign variants banned without a fight, what hope is left for the little guys? Nissan Navara. It is the truck that should have conquered American roads, but instead it was kept out, blocked by taxes, regulations, and now outright bans. The Nissan Navara is one of the most successful mid-size pickup trucks globally, praised for its balance of power, durability, and cost efficiency. Yet in the United States of America, this diesel-driven workhorse is quietly being pushed to the sidelines, not because it lacks performance, but because it was never officially welcomed. And for those who brought it in through legal channels, the consequences are starting to hit hard. The Nissan Navara debuted globally in the year 1997, designed to replace the Nissan D21, also known to American drivers as the Nissan Hardbody. Built for international markets including Europe, Asia, Australia, and South America, the Navara quickly established itself as a dominant force in the mid-size pickup category. It offered configurations that met the needs of both tradesmen and families. Rugged four-wheel drive options, turbocharged diesel engines, and extended cabs with spacious beds. Over the years, its frame strength, reliability, and fuel efficiency made it a top choice in markets where performance mattered more than prestige. Ironically, despite Nissan being a Japanese automaker with a strong presence in the United States of America, the Navara was never sold stateside. Instead, Nissan offered the Frontier, a close cousin of the Navara. Built to meet United States federal motor vehicle safety standards and adapted to local emissions requirements. But the Frontier lacked the diesel option available abroad, and for truck buyers seeking torque, efficiency, and lower long-term costs, that was a deal breaker. That is where the import community stepped in. Under the Imported Vehicle Safety Compliance Act of the year 1988, vehicles over 25 years old can be imported into the United States of America even if they were not originally certified under local safety and emissions laws. Enthusiasts and working-class drivers began importing older Navaras, especially those equipped with the highly respected 2.5-liter and 2.8-liter turbo diesel engines. These vehicles passed customs, received legal titles, and began appearing in rural towns and industrial job sites where their strengths were immediately appreciated. However, a new wave of enforcement has changed that landscape. Multiple state departments of motor vehicles have started revoking registrations or refusing to title imported Nissan Navaras, claiming that they do not meet structural or environmental standards for on-road use. Owners in states like Virginia, Maine, and Oregon have reported receiving sudden notices requiring them to surrender plates or face fines. Some were told their trucks are now classified as off-road only, despite years of compliant use and valid paperwork. The bans are not based on recalls or known safety issues. Instead, they reflect a growing effort by states to close what they perceive as a loophole, an effort heavily influenced by domestic manufacturers and their allies in policy circles. The Nissan Navara, despite being globally proven, is being caught in the crosshairs of economic nationalism disguised as regulatory caution. They blocked the Navara before it ever had a chance, but this next truck isn't just famous. It's bulletproof, beloved, and still banned. What they've done to the Toyota Hilux will blow your mind. Toyota Hilux. It is the truck that earned its reputation the hard way, on battlefields, mountain passes, and brutal terrain where lesser pickups simply fall apart. The Toyota Hilux is not just a vehicle, it is a symbol of indestructibility. But in the United States of America, this global diesel legend has been shut out, blocked, and now, in some states, outright banned. Not because it failed the test of time, but because it never got the chance to compete on fair ground. First introduced in the year 1968, the Toyota Hilux quickly became one of the most reliable and respected trucks in the world. From the deserts of the Middle East to the rainforests of South America, the Hilux earned its place by surviving what most trucks could not. It featured simple mechanical engineering, robust suspension systems, and efficient diesel engines that prioritized torque over speed. It was never about flash, it was about function, and that made it a favorite among farmers, aid workers, explorers, and tradesmen in over 180 countries. Despite its global dominance, the Toyota Hilux was never officially sold in the United States of America after the early 1990s. Instead, American buyers were given the Toyota Tacoma, a mid-size pickup with many of the Hilux's attributes, but adapted for United States emissions and safety regulations, and missing one major component, the diesel powertrain. For buyers seeking longevity, towing muscle, and fuel efficiency, the Hilux's absence left a frustrating gap. That is why many turned to the 25-year import rule. Under the Imported Vehicle Safety Compliance Act of the year 1988, vehicles at least 25 years old can be legally imported imported into the United States of America without meeting current federal motor vehicle safety standards or emissions requirements. This law gave Hilux fans a way to bring in older models, especially the legendary diesel variants that never reached American dealerships. These trucks entered legally through customs, passed inspections, and were issued titles. For a while, it seemed like the Hilux had finally carved out a foothold on American soil, but not anymore. In the past 3 years, states such as Maine, Pennsylvania, and New York have begun revoking registrations and refusing renewals for imported Toyota Hilux trucks. Owners have reported receiving sudden letters stating their vehicles have been reclassified as non-compliant or off-road only, even if they had previously been registered and insured without issue. Some were told their vehicles posed safety risks. Others were told they were never legal to begin with. The confusion stems not from federal law, but from state-level interpretations heavily influenced by policy groups and domestic manufacturer lobbying. The irony is painful. In most of the world, the Toyota Hilux is seen as the gold standard for mid-size trucks. In the United States of America, it is treated like a threat, not because it is unsafe, but because it challenges the high-cost, high-margin domestic truck market. The bans are not about safety. They are about protectionism. They came for the imports, the diesels, even the legends. But what happens when they start canceling the ones built in our own backyard? The final truck on this list isn't foreign at all, and that's what makes its story even more dangerous. Ford Ranger. You might think a Ford is always welcome on U.S. soil, but the international version of the Ford Ranger tells a different story entirely. In fact, a specific version of the Ford Ranger, built for the international market and still manufactured today, is quietly being blocked from registration in multiple American states. This might come as a surprise, but the reality is clear. Even a truck wearing the Ford badge is not safe from bureaucratic bans when it comes from the wrong side of the border. The Ford Ranger has a long and complicated history. Originally launched in the year 1982 for the North American market, the Ranger served for decades as Ford's compact pickup solution. It became a favorite for blue-collar workers, tradesmen, and anyone who needed a reliable utility truck that did not take up an entire driveway. But while production in the United States of America paused after the year 2011 and resumed in the year 2019, the Ranger never stopped evolving overseas. Internationally, Ford continued to develop the Ranger for markets in Asia, Europe, Africa, and South America. These global Rangers, particularly those built in Thailand, South Africa, and Argentina, are often more rugged, more fuel-efficient, and better equipped for utility work than their North American counterparts. Many come with high-torque diesel engines, manual transmissions, and off-road ready suspensions. Their combination of modern engineering and old-school toughness made them highly desirable to import enthusiasts and small business owners in the United States who were looking for a smarter alternative to bloated, overpriced domestic trucks. Under the 25-year import rule, which stems from the Imported Vehicle Safety Compliance Act of the year 1988, older global Ford Rangers are technically legal to bring into the United States of America.